Hey guys, Marcus from Live Life Your Way here. New vlog coming out today. Hope you're all keeping safe out there. Remember, hit that subscribe button. Hit that little bell to get notified of all the new videos coming up. If you're on Instagram and Facebook, click that follow and like. If you're on Twitter, check out what we're doing. Let's get into it. Quick little vlog. Quick little vlog today about maturity. Ooh, that's a big word. Everyone gets scared of that word. Maturity. What does it really mean to most of us? Look, really, it's really simple. Look, I've got a few notes that I'm going to work off on this one today because I've written a whole heap of notes on this, and I think they're very relevant. And it's funny, this is a bit of a blog that I wrote quite a while ago, but it's still incredibly relevant today. So look, I'm no kid anymore. Most of the people out there following my page, you guys aren't either. And over the decades, I've learnt that, you know, even at my age, you can get emotionally hurt. Relationships, friendships, business. There is emotional damage that people can do to you in terms of their behaviour, and even emotionally hurt in something like a life-changing event like an accident or something like that. So those things are going to happen to us constantly, and it doesn't matter whether you're going to be in your teens, it doesn't matter if you're going to be, you know, in your 40s, 50s, 60s. There's going to be some sort of emotional damage that people are going to try and do to you, but how we react to that as we get older changes. So if you go through a relationship breakup when you're 17, you usually fall apart. And it's usually, that person no longer wants me anymore or whatever. And it doesn't matter if you're a guy or a girl, you're gonna be emotional about it. As you get a little bit older, you deal with that a little bit differently. The recovery time shortens because you learn how to deal with that emotionally. You become wiser in how things happen and how the world works. So as we get a little bit older, it's all about our life experience and the wisdom that we learn through the age in terms of how we deal with that, and that is part of maturity. And then what we try to do is, as we have kids, family, friends around us, we try to pass some of that learning on to them to make life a little bit easier for them. And hopefully they can learn from our mistakes, and they can learn from what we're teaching them, so that life's a little bit easier for them. It doesn't always take, sometimes they don't want to listen, and that's normal, especially for kids, teens all the way through their 20s and 30s even. But as we get older, we also learn about the importance of us, and that life isn't always about giving in all the time for the sake of others. It can be okay to take a little bit of selfish time, and that's not selfish. You're allowed to have self-time, you're allowed to have time for you. And that's all about your own growth, and that comes with maturity. You learn that all about self-growth, to put aside those silly things that don't need to affect you anymore. You've gone through those initial learning stages of all those emotional hurts, and you learn to deal with them differently. You learn to take time for yourself, time out, to help yourself focus on you, and be able to do that. You then are able to give back to others and keep life a little bit simpler. As we get older and more mature, we also tend to say what we think and feel a little bit more. When you're younger, part of that immaturity is you don't know when you should say things, you don't know what you should say. And as you get older, you learn what you should and shouldn't say at certain times. And we also learn that we're able to say more a little bit more often. And the problem is, the downsides of all of that is that not everyone tends to appreciate that. Not everyone tends to appreciate you being open, honest, and upfront and saying what you think, because they're not necessarily at the same maturity level, or they haven't come to the realization that it's easier to be that way or it's better to be that way. So we tend to end up saying what we think and feel more for ourselves than for that other person eventually. Look, psychologically, maturity within a person is the ability to respond to their environment in an appropriate manner. So when I say we say what we think and feel more often, it doesn't mean we just walk up to someone and go, "Oh, I think you're an idiot." You just don't do that. Or I don't like what you're wearing. It's all about time appropriate. And it's all about acting the correct way in the correct circumstances and picking your times as to when you say that. So society in general does still tend to have trouble with people saying what they think and feel. So if you're a mature person, you've grown up, you've come to terms with who you are, you're comfortable with who you are, you've come to terms with being able to express yourself, you've gone through those learning curves of the emotional roller coasters of life, you've learned to deal with all of that, you've learned to have a self-focused life and learn to like yourself, and you learn to, you know what, I'm going to say what I really feel because I'm saying it for me, not necessarily for you. But the point of maturity is learning when to do all of that. Most of society has trouble with those sorts of things, and I think it's more of a learned response, because most of society isn't capable yet, from my experience, to actually be able to express themselves, because they're too worried about what other people think. Social media is a prime example. Always worried about what other people are thinking, so they don't always say what they really think. They're worried about someone attacking them. And that's why I do so many of my blogs. I would hope that my blogs are my ability to express all of that. And I think that society still has a long way to go to be able to get to a point where they're not offended by truths, and they're not offended by the real world, and they're not offended by what other people say. It's a long road for that. Current cancel culture, which is, my opinion, rubbish. But anyway, that's a prime example. I don't like what that person or that movie or that cartoon or that book is saying, so let's cancel that out of the world completely. I don't ever want to see it again. Well, you don't have to listen to that person, you don't have to read that book, you don't have to watch that movie, or you don't have to look at that TV show. That's a choice you can make. You don't, even though you may be offended, you don't have to cancel it for everyone else. That's maturity. Maturity comes in there. And it's all about accepting that, everyone has different opinions. Everyone has different points of view. And everyone is allowed to express those opinions and points of view. You don't have to agree with them. You don't have to voice your opinion on them either. You can just ignore it and walk away. But I think that maturity in that realm, in that way of looking at things, is still lacking in most of the world, because they're still dealing with their life experiences on that younger scale. They haven't quite learned in that scale of, as I was talking about earlier, when we react to an emotional breakup in a relationship, for example, when we're 17 is different to how we react to it at 50 or 60 or even 40. They haven't quite learned to progress their emotional responses, and that's maturity. And until then, and until the world views or most people get to that maturity level, we're still going to be a little bit restricted in saying what we feel, and which is unfortunate. But you know what? If you feel that you need to say something, say it for you. Don't worry about other people's opinions. If they can't deal with that, then that's their problems, in my opinion. That's my opinion on that. If people have trouble dealing with what you've said, or how you've said it, and they go, oh, I can't deal with you anymore, I'm out of here, you're too much trouble for me, or you're too hard to deal with, or anything like that, then look at it from the perspective of they probably weren't supposed to be in your life. Or maybe they'll come back as they mature and realise, oh, you know what you said was correct and spot on, and I just couldn't deal with it at that point, and now I can. Some people come into our lives for a long haul. Some people come into our lives just to make a guest appearance, a bit like a cameo in a movie. Some people come into our lives to teach us something. How we respond to all of that, emotionally, mentally, is a sign of our maturity. Okay, so to recap, I guess, so what I'm saying with this week's blog is emotional maturity, not everyone has it. How everyone deals with things is going to depend on their age, their experience, and I suppose each one of us is going to want to deal with little things differently. I believe that you should express what you feel. I believe that you should be able to express what you feel without repercussions. How you learn to deal with things at 17 as opposed to how you learn to deal with things over decades of experience and getting to that age of 40 plus is up to you. And I think that you need to focus on you first over everything else. Hope you're all staying safe out there. Remember to hit that subscribe button. See you on the next video. Stay safe.